It started with the dog. That's the part I keep coming back to, like if I trace the story back far enough, I might find a version of my life where none of this happened, where a small, harmless decision didn't unravel everything I thought I knew about my marriage. Her name was Daisy, a golden retriever with soft eyes and a habit of following my wife Emily from room to room like she was the center of her universe. We adopted her 2 years into our marriage, back when things still felt easy. Back when love didn't feel like something you had to monitor. "Can you check on her while I'm at work?" Emily had asked one morning, kneeling beside Daisy and scratching behind her ears. "She gets anxious when she's alone." "I always check on her," I said, grabbing my keys. "I mean during the day," she added. "Maybe a camera or something?" I paused. A camera. At the time, it seemed like the most ordinary suggestion in the world. A week later, I installed it. Just a small security camera in the living room. Nothing fancy. Wide-angle view, motion detection, app access on my phone. It covered the couch, the front door, and most of the open space. "Now you can spy on her all day," Emily teased, leaning over my shoulder as I tested the feed. "Not spy," I corrected. "Monitor." She laughed. "That sounds worse. If I had known then what that camera would eventually show me, I think I would have thrown it in the trash." The first few days were exactly what you'd expect. Daisy pacing when we left. Daisy curling up on the rug. Daisy staring at the door like she was waiting for the world to come back. Sometimes Emily would text me, "Is she okay?" And I'd send her a screenshot of Daisy sleeping or chewing on her toy, and she'd reply with a heart. Simple. Normal. Safe. Our life was stable. I worked as a project manager at a construction firm. Long hours, but predictable. Structured. The kind of job where you always knew what came next. Emily worked part-time at a boutique downtown. She had studied interior design, but never really pursued it fully. Said she wasn't ready. Said she liked the flexibility. We had a routine. Morning coffee together. Quick kisses at the door. Evenings on the couch with Daisy stretched between us like a bridge. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. The first time I noticed something off, it didn't feel like a warning. It felt like a glitch. I was at work, sitting in a meeting I didn't need to be in, half listening while scrolling through emails. My phone buzzed. Motion detected. Living room camera. I tapped it absent-mindedly, expecting to see Daisy moving around. Instead, I saw Emily. She was supposed to be at work. I frowned slightly. Maybe she came home early. No big deal. She walked into frame, dropped her bag on the chair, and ran a hand through her hair like she was stressed. I watched for a few seconds, then almost closed the app. Then, she checked her phone, looked toward the door, and walked out of frame. Something about it lingered. Not enough to alarm me, just enough to stay in the back of my mind. That evening, I asked casually, "You came home early today?" She didn't hesitate. "No, why?" "I got a notification," I said. "Thought I saw you." She smiled lightly. "Must have been earlier in the morning." Maybe it was. I didn't push. That's the thing about trust. You don't question small inconsistencies. You smooth them over. You explain them away. Because the alternative feels unnecessary. A few days later, it happened again. Another notification. Another glimpse of her during a time she said she'd be at work. This time, I watched longer. Not suspicious, just curious. She looked different at home during the day. Less relaxed, more alert, like she was waiting for something or someone. That thought came and went quickly. I didn't hold on to it. I didn't want to. But then came the day everything changed. It was a Thursday. I remember because Thursdays were always heavy back-to-back meetings, deadlines stacking up, the kind of day where time feels like it's slipping faster than you can manage it. Around 2017 p.m., my phone buzzed again. Motion detected. I almost ignored it. Almost. But something made me tap it. Maybe instinct. Maybe coincidence. Maybe something deeper I didn't fully understand yet. The camera feed loaded. The living room was empty. For a second, I thought it was a false alert. Then, the front door opened. Emily walked in. My chest tightened slightly. Not panic, just awareness. She closed the door behind her, locked it, then stood there for a moment, listening. That was new. Then she did something I had never seen before. She walked directly toward the camera. For a split second, I thought she was going to adjust it or check something. Instead, she reached up and turned it. The screen shifted abruptly, now facing the wall. The feed went useless. My heart stopped, because that wasn't accidental. That wasn't random. That was intentional. I stared at the blank, angled view of the wall, my mind racing, trying to catch up with what my gut had already started to understand. Why would she do that? The question echoed louder than anything else. I didn't move, didn't blink, just stared at my phone like it might explain itself if I gave it enough time. Minutes passed. Then, another notification. Motion detected. I opened the app again. The camera was still facing the wall. But I could hear something. Voices. My breath caught. A man's voice. Low. Familiar in the way strangers can be when they don't belong in your home. I turned the volume up. My hand shaking now. A faint laugh. Emily's. Not the one she used with me. Not the comfortable, everyday one. This one was softer, warmer, intimate. My chest felt like it was collapsing inward. I waited, hoping irrationally that I was misunderstanding, that there was an explanation, that this wasn't what it sounded like. Then I heard it, clear enough, undeniable. "Did you miss me?" the man asked. A pause. Then Emily's voice, soft, almost a whisper. "Always." Something inside me broke, not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, like a crack forming in glass. Spreading, unstoppable. I don't remember standing up, but suddenly I was. The meeting around me fading into noise, voices distant, irrelevant. All I could hear was that word. Always. I walked out of the room without saying anything. No one stopped me. No one noticed. Because at that moment, my entire world had narrowed down to a single unbearable truth. The camera I installed to watch my dog had just shown me my wife cheating, and I wasn't ready for what came next. I don't remember the drive home. I know I got in the car. I know I started the engine. I know traffic lights changed, people moved, the world kept going like nothing had happened. But inside me, everything had stopped. My phone sat on the passenger seat, the camera feed still open, still angled at that blank wall, still capturing fragments of sound I wasn't sure I wanted to hear. A laugh. A low murmur. Movement. Every second stretched. Every second made it more real. I gripped the steering wheel tighter than I needed to. Part of me wanted to turn around, to pretend I hadn't seen it, to go back to work, finish the day, come home like nothing was wrong. But another part of me, squatter me, the part that had already started breaking, needed to see it, needed confirmation, needed the truth to hit all the way. By the time I pulled into the driveway, my hands were numb. The house looked the same. Quiet. Ordinary. The kind of place where nothing like this should exist. I sat in the car for a moment, listening. Nothing. Then I opened the door. The first thing I noticed when I stepped inside was the silence. Too clean. Too empty. Emily. My voice sounded strange in my own ears. No answer. Daisy came running from the hallway, tail wagging, completely unaware that anything in the world had changed. I crouched down automatically, running my hand over her head. "Hey, girl." She licked my hand. Simple. Honest. I stood up slowly, my heart pounding louder with every step toward the living room. The camera was still turned toward the wall, exactly how she left it. That detail hit me harder than anything else, because it meant she didn't forget. She didn't panic. She didn't rush. She planned it. I reached up and turned the camera back. The room came into view again. Empty. Couch slightly out of place. A throw pillow on the floor. My chest tightened. There were traces. Small ones. But enough. I walked further into the house. Bedroom. Empty. Bathroom. Empty. No sign of her. No sign of him. They were gone. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Not relief, just impact. I stood in the middle of the living room, trying to piece together what I had just walked into. What I had just heard. What it meant. My eyes landed on the couch, and suddenly, I didn't want to be there anymore. I stepped back, then turned, then walked straight out of the house again. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay. I ended up at a gas station a few blocks away, parked, engine off, hands still on the wheel. That's when it hit fully. Not the suspicion, not the possibility, the certainty. My wife had another man in our house, in the middle of the day, while I was at work. And she had done it before. The earlier notifications. The small inconsistencies. The way she answered too quickly. It all came rushing back at once. "How long?" I muttered under my breath. That question became everything. How long had this been happening? Weeks? Months? Longer? I grabbed my phone again, opened the app, scrolled back. The camera stored clips. Motion triggered. Time stamped. My thumb hovered over the list. Then I started opening them. Clip after clip. Day after day. At first, nothing unusual. Daisy. Empty rooms. Routine. Then, 3 weeks ago. A clip. Same time of day. I tapped it. Emily walked in. Looked around. Checked her phone. Then, the door opened again. A man stepped inside. My breath caught. He was taller than me. Dark hair. Casual clothes. Comfortable. Too comfortable. Too comfortable. Like he had been there before. Emily smiled at him. Not surprised. Not hesitant. Familiar. I stopped the video. Couldn't watch the rest. My chest felt tight again. 3 weeks. At least. I kept scrolling. Another clip. 2 weeks ago. Same pattern. Another one. A week ago. Each one confirming the same thing. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-time lapse. This was a pattern. A relationship. I dropped the phone onto my lap, staring straight ahead. Everything I thought I understood about my life was wrong. I thought about calling her, demanding answers, confronting her immediately. But something stopped me. Anger would be easy, explosive, temporary. But I didn't just want to react. I wanted to understand. Who was he? How did this start? Why? Those questions mattered, because without them, all I had was pain. And pain without answers turns into something much worse. By the time I got home again, it was almost evening. She was there, standing in the kitchen, like nothing had happened. "Hey," she said, glancing up with a small smile. "You're home early." Early. The word almost made me laugh. "Yeah," I said. My voice was steady. Too steady. She turned back to the counter, stirring something in a pan. "I was thinking we could have dinner early tonight," she said. "You've been working too much." I watched her. Really watched her. Same movements, same tone, same person I had spent years with, and yet completely different. "Emily," I said. She paused, just slightly. "Yeah?" I took a step forward. "Who is he?" The room went still. She didn't turn around immediately. For a moment, I thought she might pretend not to understand, deny it, laugh it off. Instead, she slowly set the spoon down, and then she turned. Her face had changed, not shocked, not confused, just caught. "I don't know what you mean," she said. There it was, the lie, calm, practiced. I nodded once, then walked past her, into the living room. She followed. "Armin," I reached up and turned the camera. Her eyes flickered. Just for a second, but it was enough. "I saw it," I said. Silence. "I heard it," I added. Her shoulders dropped slightly, and, just like that, the version of her that didn't know disappeared. "How much did you see?" she asked quietly. "Enough." A long pause. Then she closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, there were no more lies left. When she opened her eyes, something in her had shifted. The softness was gone, not replaced by anger, not even fear, just acceptance. "I didn't want you to find out like this," she said. The words landed wrong. Not because of what they meant, but because of what they didn't. Not "I'm sorry." Not "it's not what it looks like." Just that she wished I hadn't found out this way. I let out a slow breath. "Is there a better way?" I asked. She didn't answer. Because there wasn't. We stood in the living room, facing each other like strangers who knew too much about one another. "Who is he?" I asked again. This time, my voice was quieter. Not demanding. Just tired. She hesitated, then said, "His name is Daniel." The name settled into the room like something permanent. "How long?" I asked. Another pause. This one heavier. "A few months." I nodded slowly. "Since when?" She looked down briefly. "Since January." January. I did the math without meaning to. Birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, moments that had felt real to me. All of them now, split in half. "And I gestured vaguely, started seeing him?" "It wasn't like that," she said quickly. I let out a hollow laugh. "It's never like that, is it?" She flinched. "I met him at the store," she continued, her voice careful. "He came in a few times. We talked. It just happened." "Things don't just happen, Emily," I said. They do when you feel invisible, she shot back. The word hit me harder than I expected. Invisible, I repeated. She looked at me then, really looked. When was the last time you actually saw me, she asked. I frowned. I see you every day. That's not what I mean. Then what do you mean? Her voice didn't rise. But it carried weight. I mean, when was the last time you noticed anything about me that wasn't routine, she said. When was the last time you asked how I felt and actually listened? I opened my mouth, then stopped, because I didn't have an answer ready, and that bothered me. That doesn't justify this, I said after a moment. I didn't say it did, she replied. Then why are you saying it? Because you asked why, she said, and that's part of it. I ran a hand through my hair, pacing slightly. So instead of talking to me, you found someone else. I tried talking, she said. When? Every time I told you you were working too much. Every time I said I felt alone even when you were home. I thought that was just. I stopped myself. Just what? She pressed. Normal, I admitted. She gave a small, sad smile. Exactly. Silence stretched between us again. I didn't think you'd. I trailed off. What? She asked. Do this. Her expression shifted. Not defensive, not proud, just conflicted. I didn't think I would either, she said. That honesty cut deeper than any excuse. Do you love him? I asked. The question came out before I could stop it. She froze. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. She didn't immediately say no. I don't know, she said finally. My chest tightened. You don't know? I didn't plan for any of this, she said. It just grew into something. Something you hid, I said. Yes, something you chose over me, I added. She shook her head. It wasn't about choosing. It always is, I replied. Another silence. Then I asked the question I wasn't sure I wanted the answer to. Are you still seeing him? She didn't look away. Yes. The word landed like a final confirmation. No more guessing. No more doubt. Just truth. I nodded slowly. Does he know about me? Yes. Of course he did. And he's okay with this. She hesitated. Then, he wants me to leave you. There it was, the part I hadn't said out loud yet. And what do you want? I asked. That question lingered longer than any before it. She looked at me, then away, then back again. I don't know, she said. Again, that same answer. But this time, it felt heavier, because now there were two of us in that uncertainty. I let out a long breath. I watched the videos, I said quietly. Her face tightened. You didn't just come over, I continued. You turned the camera. You knew exactly what you were doing. She closed her eyes briefly. I didn't want you to see. That's not the point, I said. I know. Then what is the point, Emily? I asked, my voice finally cracking slightly. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you built a second life right inside this one. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't mean for it to go this far, but it did. Yes. Another pause. Then I asked the question that had been sitting in the back of my mind since the moment I heard that man's voice. Was he here today? She nodded. Something inside me tightened again. In our house, I said. Yes, on that couch. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I looked away, because suddenly, everything in that room felt contaminated. Every memory, every moment, all of it, shared with someone who didn't belong. I need you to leave, I said. The words surprised even me. She blinked. Armin. I need space, I added. She stared at me for a moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, no argument, no resistance. That hurt more than if she had fought me. She walked toward the bedroom. I stayed where I was, listening. Drawers opening, closet doors sliding. The quiet sounds of someone packing their life into a suitcase. It felt familiar, too familiar, that this time, it wasn't about finding herself. It was about what she had already done. When she came back out, her bag in hand, she paused near the door. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't respond. Not because I didn't hear her, but because I didn't know what that apology meant anymore. Was it for getting caught? For the betrayal? For everything? I never wanted to hurt you, she added. I looked at her then. Finally, you already did. Her eyes filled. I know. A long pause. Then she asked softly, is there anything left to fix? The question hung between us, and for the first time, I didn't have an answer. After she left, the house didn't feel empty. It felt exposed. Like everything that had once been private safe had been seen, touched, and altered in a way that couldn't be undone. I stood in the living room for a long time after the door closed behind her. The same spot, the same floor, the same couch. But nothing meant the same thing anymore. Daisy came over and rested her head against my leg. I looked down at her. She didn't understand betrayal. She didn't understand lies. She only understood presence and absence. Yeah, I murmured, scratching behind her ears. I know. That night I didn't sleep. Not because I couldn't, but because I didn't trust what I might feel if I closed my eyes. Every time I looked at the couch, I saw shadows of something I hadn't witnessed but knew had happened. Every time I passed the door, I imagined it opening again. Not for me, for someone else. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. I took a day off work. Not to rest, not to think, just to exist without pretending everything was normal. I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee that went cold before I finished it. My phone sat beside me, silent. Part of me expected her to call, to explain more, to apologize again, to say something that would make sense of all this. But she didn't. Instead, around noon, a message came through. "Emily, can we talk?" I stared at it for a long time, long enough for the screen to dim, then go black. I didn't reply, not right away, because for the first time since everything had come to light, I realized something uncomfortable. I wasn't just angry. I was detached. Not completely. Not yet. But enough to notice, and that scared me more than anything else. Because anger means something still matters. Detachment means something is already slipping away. By evening, I finally responded. "Me? About what?" The reply came quickly. "Emily. Us." I let out a slow breath. That word felt different now. Us. I wasn't sure what it meant anymore. Me, there is no us. Right now, a pause. Then, "Emily, that's why I want to talk." I stared at the message, then typed, deleted, typed again. Finally, "Me, tomorrow. Not today." A few seconds later, "Emily." Okay, that was it. No pressure, no pleading, just distance. The next day we met at a quiet cafe halfway across town. Neutral ground. She was already there when I arrived, sitting by the window, hands wrapped around a cup she wasn't drinking. She looked different, not in appearance, but in presence. Less certain, less composed. When she saw me, she stood up. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey." We sat across from each other. A small table between us that felt much larger than it was. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "Thank you for coming." I nodded. "You said you wanted to talk," I replied. She inhaled slowly. "I ended things with him." The words landed, strangely. Not the impact I expected. "When?" I asked. "Last night." I studied her face, looking for something. Guilt, relief, regret. I saw all of it. "Why?" I asked. Her answer came without hesitation. "Because I realized something." I waited. "I wasn't running towards something better," she said. "I was running away from something I didn't understand." I leaned back slightly. "And now you understand it?" I asked. "More than before," she said. "Not completely." A pause. "But I know this wasn't the answer." I nodded slowly. "That doesn't undo what happened," I said. "I know. That doesn't fix anything. I know that too." Silence settled again. Then she looked at me, directly. "I'm not asking you to forgive me," she said. That caught me off guard. "I'm asking if there's still something here worth trying for." The question lingered between us. I looked down at the table, then back at her. A part of me wanted to say yes. Immediately, without thinking. Because 6 years doesn't disappear overnight. Because love doesn't vanish just because it's been damaged. But another part of me, the part that had watched those videos, heard those words, felt that break, that part wasn't ready. "I don't know," I said honestly. Her eyes softened. "That's fair." Another pause. "I'll wait," she added quietly. I frowned slightly. "You shouldn't." "Why not?" "Because I don't know how long this will take," I said, "or if it will lead anywhere." She nodded. "I'm not waiting for an answer," she said. "I'm just not closing the door." That felt different. Not pressure, not expectation, just possibility. "I need time," I said. "Take it. I need space." You have it. I studied her for a moment. You sound different, I said. She gave a small, tired smile. I feel different. We sat there a while longer, talking not about the past in detail, not about blame, but about what came next. Or rather, what might come next. Or rather, what might come next. When we finally stood to leave, there was no hug, no lingering touch, just a quiet understanding. We'll talk, she said. Yeah. And then we walked in opposite directions. Weeks passed, then months. We didn't rush back into anything. No sudden reconciliation, no dramatic declarations, just distance. And small, careful steps, occasional messages, short calls, conversations that felt more honest than anything we had before. I went to therapy. Something I never thought I'd do. Not because of her, but because I needed to understand myself, the parts of me that had been present, and the parts that had been absent. She did the same. Slowly, something shifted. Not back to what we had, but forward into something new, something more aware, more intentional. 6 months later, we met again, not out of necessity, not out of crisis, but by choice. Same city, different place. She looked at me and smiled. Not nervously, not uncertainly. Not uncertainly, just genuinely. I've missed this, she said. Me too. And for the first time since everything had fallen apart, that didn't feel like a lie. We didn't rush. We didn't label it. We just started again, carefully. Because this time, we both understood something we hadn't before. Love isn't what breaks you. It's what you ignore within it. And if you're willing to face that, truly face it, then even something broken can become something real again. Not perfect, not untouched, but honest. And sometimes, that's stronger than anything else.